Wall Street Book Club. Evan Jefferson, brother, much love. Educating, elevating, because in knowledge is the power and we'll never give it up. Literature that's for the masses. Where to put your money down, now how to watch your assets. Yeah, uplifting others is a passion. My brother Evan, he will turn it into action. New Black Wall Street Book Club. You should come read with us. Yeah, we comprehend and discuss. If we all just come together, there's no limit for us. Here comes your host, New Black Wall Street. Evan, take it away. New Black Wall Street Book Club.
All right, good day to you, beautiful people. Thanks so much for joining us here again on another episode of the New Black Wall Street Book Club. As today we are going to continue our journey into the University of Success, book written by Mr. Mandino, which is a compilation of 50 different lessons to help you to accomplish your dreams, to build your dreams and accomplish your goals. I'm your host, ERGJ, your certified global financial educator, CEO of ERGJ Enterprises, The Black Bazaar, and international best-selling author of the book, The Black Billionaires Club. The book that I wrote, guys, A Study of Black Wealth, is a study of the 12 richest Black people in the world today and how they built their wealth. And I just truly believe that if you want to be wealthy, you should study wealthy people. Well, you can find that book by simply going to the website, theblackbillionairesclub.com, theblackbillionairesclub.com. Pick up your copy today. Also, guys, I want to shout out to our sponsor before we get started, which is the Black Bazaar, Afrocentric marketplace, specialized in Afrocentric home decor, personal care products, also Black art inspired gifts. Check them out at theblackbazaar.com. That's right, theblackbazaar.com. Once you shop Black, beautiful people, you never go back. All right, so we're going to jump into our session here today. While you guys are connecting, let us know that where you're connecting from, what city, what state, what country you might be connecting from. Love to know just how far our reach is. Also, if you should be catching this on the replay, just put in the comments below #replay. Today, we'll be jumping into lesson number 30, which is how to increase your value. How to increase your value. This is a lesson that comes from Orison Swett Marden. Orison Swett Marden. And we're going to hop into this here today. So hopefully you guys are ready to increase your value and learn from this session here today. And we'll get right into this thing, New Black Wall Street Book Club, lesson number 30, how to increase your value, about Orison Swett Marden. So it says at the top here, the quality of your work in the long run is the deciding factor on how much your services are valued by the world. The quality of your work in the long run is the deciding factor on how much your services are valued by the world. Charles Kettering of General Motors fame said, I tell my people that I don't want any fellow who has a job working for me. What I want is a fellow whom a job has. And I want the job to get a hold of this young man so hard that no matter where he is, the job has got him for keeps. I want that job to have him in his clutches, and when he goes to bed at night and in the morning, I want that job to be sitting at the foot of his bed telling him it's time to get up and go to work. When a job gets a fellow that way, he's sure to amount to something. Unfortunately, Mr. Kettering's ideal employee is becoming more and more of a rarity in any company, large and small. Quality of any sort is now such a precious commodity that we are willing to pay exorbitant amounts for an automobile that has been assembled properly, a camera that doesn't jam, even a wallet that won't fall apart. This applies as well to personal services. A first-class attorney, salesman, doctor, or mechanic, anyone who still takes pride in his work, is worth his or her weight in gold. Orison Swett Marden was America's first popular writer on the subject of success. His classic Pushing to the Front swept across the nation before the turn of the century. It was published in several languages and even became a bestseller in Japan. Pushing to the front. Pushing to the front. There's a special quality in the older writings of success that one does not find very often today. Perhaps those writers of another era wrote in a greater intensity, which combined with the antiquity of their grammar lends an almost biblical flavor to their work. In any event, it is hoped that Mr. Marden's extraordinary power with words in this lesson from Pushing to the Front will cause you to think twice the next time you may be tempted to deliver less than your best. Everybody put in comments, so always deliver my best. So we're going to hear from Mr. Marden in a part from his contribution, Pushing to the Front. New Black Wall Street Book Club. Let's read. Several years ago, a relief lifeboat at New London sprung a leak. And while being repaired, a hammer was found in the bottom of that had been left there by the builders 13 years before. From the constant motion of the boat, the hammer had worn through the planking, clear down to the plating. Not long since it was discovered that a girl had served 20 years for a 20-month sentence in a southern prison because of a mistake of a court clerk who wrote years instead of months in the record of the prisoner's sentence. The history of the human race is full of the most horrible tragedies caused by carelessness and the inexcusable blunders of those who never formed the habit of accuracy, of thoroughness, of doing things to a finish. Multitudes of people have lost an eye, a leg, or an arm, or are otherwise maimed because dishonest workmen wrought deception into the articles they manufactured, slighted their work, covered up defects in weak places with paints and varnish. How many have lost their lives because of dishonest work, carelessness, criminal blundering, and railroad construction? Think of the tragedies caused by lies packed in car wheels, locomotives, steamboat boilers, and engines, lies in defect rails, ties, or switches, lies and dishonest labor put into manufactured material by workmen who said it was good enough for the meager wages they got. Because people were not conscientious in their work, there were flaws in the steel, which caused the rail or pillar to snap, the locomotive or the other machinery to break. The steel shaft broke in mid-ocean, and the lives of thousands of passengers were jeopardized because of somebody's carelessness. Even before they are completed, buildings often fall and bury the workmen under their ruins because somebody was careless. Dishonest either employee or employer or employee are worked lies, deceptions into the building. The majority of railroad wrecks, of disasters on land and sea, which cause so much misery and cost so many lives, are the result of carelessness, thoughtlessness, or half-done, blundering work. They are the evil fruit of the low ideals of slovenly, careless, indifferent workers. Everywhere over this broad earth, we see the tragic results of botched work. Wooden legs, armless sleeves, numberless graves, fatherless and motherless homes everywhere speak of somebody's carelessness, somebody's blunders, somebody's habit of inaccuracy. The worst crimes are not punishable by law. Carelessness, slipshodness, lack of thoroughness are crimes against self, against humanity, that often do more harm than the crimes that make the perpetrator an outcast from society. Where a tiny flaw or the slightest defect may cost a precious life, carelessness is as much a crime as deliberate criminality. If everybody put his conscience into his work, did it to a complete finish, it would not only reduce the loss of human life, the mangling or maiming of men and women to a fraction of what it is at present, but it would also give us a higher quality of manhood and womanhood. Most people think too much of quantity and too little of quality in their work. They try to do too much or do not do it well. They do not realize that the education, the comfort, the satisfaction, the general improvement, embracing up of the whole man that comes from doing one thing absolutely right, from putting the trademarks of one character on it, far outweighs the value that attaches to the doing of 1,000 botched or slipshod jobs. We are so constituted that the quality which we put into our life work affects everything else in our lives and tends to bring our whole conduct to the same level. The entire person takes on the characteristics of one's usual way of doing things. The habit of precision and accuracy strengthens the mentality, improves the whole character. On the contrary, doing things in a loose-jointed, slipshod, carelessness manner deteriorates the whole mentality, demoralizes the mental process, and pulls down the whole life. Every half-done or slovenly job that goes out of your hands leaves its trace of demoralization behind. After slighting your work, after doing a poor job, you are not quite the same man you were before. You're not so likely to try to keep up the standard of your work, not so likely to regard your word as sacred as before. The mental and moral effect of half-doing or carelessly doing things is power to drag down, to demoralize, can hardly be estimated because the processes are so gradual, so subtle. No one can respect himself who habitually botches his work. And when self-respect drops, confidence goes with it. And when confidence and self-respect have gone, excellence is impossible. It is astonishing how completely a slovenly habit will gradually, insidiously fasten itself upon the individual and so change his whole mental attitude as to thwart absolutely his life purpose, even when he may think he is doing his best to carry it out. I know a man who was extremely ambitious to do something very distinctive and who had the ability to do it. When he started on his career, he was very exact and painstaking. He demanded the best of himself, would not accept his second best in anything. The thought of slighting his work was painful to him, but his mental processes were so deteriorated, and he has become so demoralized by the habit which, after a while, grew upon him of accepting his second best. And he now slights his work without a protest, seemingly without being conscious of it. He is today doing quite ordinary things without apparent mortification or sense of humiliation. And the tragedy of all is he does not know why he has failed. One's ambition and ideals need constant watching and cultivation in order to keep up with the standards. Many people are so constituted that their ambition wanes and their ideals drop when they're alone or with careless, indifferent people. They require the constant assistance, suggestion, prodding, or example of others to keep them up to standard. How quickly a youth of high ideals who has been very well trained in thoroughness often deteriorates when he leaves home and goes to work for an employer with inferior ideals and slipshod methods. The introduction of inferiority into our work is like introducing subtle poison into the system. It paralyzes the normal functions. Inferiority is an infection which, like leaven, affects the entire system. It dulls ideals, palsies the aspiring faculty, stupefies the ambition, and causes deterioration all along the line. The human mechanism is so constituted that whatever goes wrong in one part affects the whole structure. There's a very intimate relation between the quality of the work and the quality of the character. Did you ever notice the rapid decline in a young man's character when he began to slight his work, to shirk, to slip in rotten hours, rotten service? If you should ask the inmates of our penitentiaries what had caused their ruin, many of them could trace the first signs of deterioration to shirking, clipping their hours, deceiving their employers, to indifferent, dishonest work. We were made to be honest. Honesty is our normal expression, and any departure from it demoralizes and taints the whole character. Honesty means integrity in everything. It is not only means reliability in your word, but also carefulness, accuracy, honesty in your work. It does not mean that if only you will not lie with your lips, you may lie and defraud in the quality of your work. Honesty means wholeness, completeness. It means truth in everything, in deed and in word. Merely not to steal another's money or goods is not all there is to honesty. You must not steal another's time. You must not steal his goods or ruin his property by half finishing or botching your work, by blundering through carelessness or indifference. Your contract with your employer means that you will give him your best and not your second best. What a fool you are, said one workman to another, to take so much pains with that job when you don't get much pay for it. Get the most money for the least work is my rule, and I get twice as much money as you do. That may be, replied the other, but I shall like myself better. I shall think more of myself, and that is more important to me than money. You will like yourself better when you have the approval of your conscience. That will bring worth more to you than any amount of money you can pocket through fraudulent, skimped, or botched work. Nothing else can give you the glow of satisfaction, the electric thrill and uplift which comes from a so superbly done job. Perfect work harmonizes with the very principles of our being because we are made for perfection. It fits our very natures. Someone has said it's a race between negligence and ignorance as to who can make the more trouble. Many a young man is being kept down by what probably seems a small thing to him, negligence, lack of accuracy. He never quite finishes anything he undertakes. He cannot be depended upon to do anything quite right. His work always needs looking over by someone else. Hundreds of clerks and bookkeepers are getting small salaries and poor positions today because they have never learned to do things absolutely right. A prominent businessman says that the carelessness, inaccuracy, and blundering of employees cost Chicago $1 million a day. The manager of a large house in that city says that he has to station pickets here and there throughout the establishment in order to neutralize the evils of inaccuracy and the blundering habit. One of John Wanamaker's partners said that the unnecessary blunders and mistakes cost that firm $25,000 a year. The dead letter department of the post office in Washington received in 1 year 7 million pieces of undelivered mail. Of these, more than 80,000 bore no addresses whatsoever. A great many of them were from business houses. Are the clerks who are responsible for this carelessness likely to win promotion? Many an employee who would be shocked at the thought of telling his employer a lie with his lips is lying every day in the quality of his work, in his dishonest service, in the rotten hours he is slipping into it, in shirking, in his indifference to his employer's interests. It is just as dishonest to express deception in poor work, in shirking, as to express it with the lips. Yet I have known office boys who could not be induced to tell their employer a direct lie, to steal his time when on an errand, to hide away during working hours, to smoke a cigarette or take a nap, not realizing perhaps that lies can be acted as well as told, and that acting a lie may be even worse than telling one. Wow. A lie can be acted as well as told, and acting a lie may be even worse than telling one. The man who botches his work, who lies or cheats in the goods he sells or manufactures, is dishonest with himself as well as with his fellow men, and must pay the price in loss of self-respect, loss of character, or loss of the standing in his community. Yet on every side, we see all sorts of things selling for a song because the maker put no character, no thought into them. Articles of clothing that look stylish and attractive when first worn very quickly get out of shape and hang and look like old, much worn garments. Buttons fly off. Seams give away to the slightest strain. Drop stitches are everywhere in evidence. And often the entire article goes to pieces before it's worn half a dozen times. Everywhere we see furniture which looks all right, but which in reality is full of blemishes and weaknesses, covered up with the paint and varnish. Glue starts at joints, chairs, and bedsteads break down at the slightest provocation. Casters come off, handles pull out. Many things go to pieces altogether, even while practically new. Made to sell, not for service, will be good label for the great mass of manufactured articles in our markets today. It is difficult to find anything that is well and honestly made, that has character, individuality, and thoroughness wrought into it. Most things are just thrown together. This slipshod, dishonest manufacturing is so general, and that concerns which turn out products is so general that concerns which turn out products based upon honesty and truth often win for themselves a worldwide reputation to command the highest prices. There is no other advertisement like a good reputation. Some of the world's greatest manufacturers have regarded their reputation as their most precious possession, and under no circumstances would they allow their name to be put on an imperfect article. Vast sums of money are often paid for the use of a name because of its great reputation for integrity and square dealing. There was a time when the names of Graham and Tampion on timepieces were guarantees of the most exquisite workmanship and of unquestioned integrity. Strangers from any part of the world could send their purchase money and order goods from those manufacturers without a doubt that they would be squarely dealt with. Tampion and Graham lie in Westminster Abbey because of the accuracy of their work, because they refuse to manufacture and sell lies. When you finish a thing, you ought to be able to say to yourself, there I am, willing to stand for that piece of work. It is not pretty well done. It is not pretty well done. It is done as well as I can do it, done to a complete finish. I will stand for that. I'm willing to be judged for it. Never be satisfied with fairly good, pretty good, or good enough. Accept nothing short of your best. Put such a quality into your work that anyone who comes across anything you have ever done will see character in it, individuality in it, your trademark of superiority upon it. Your reputation is at stake in everything you do, and your reputation is your capital. Wow. You cannot afford to do a poor job, to let botched work or anything that's inferior go out of your hands. Every bit of your work, no matter how unimportant or trivial it may seem, should bear your trademark of excellence. You should regard every task that goes through your hands, every piece of work you touch, as Tampion regarded every watch that went out of his shop. It must be the very best you can do, the best that human skill can produce. It is just the little difference between the good and the best that makes the difference between the artist and the artisan. It is just the little touches. After the average man would quit that make the master's fame. Regard your work as Stradivarius regarded his violins, which he made for eternity, and not for one which was ever known to come to pieces or break. Stradivarius did not need any patent on his violins, for no other violin maker would pay such a price for excellence as he had paid, would take such pains to put his stamp of superiority upon his instrument. Every Stradivarius now in existence is worth $3,000 to $10,000, or several times its weight in gold. Think of the value such a reputation of thoroughness as thought of Stradivarius or Tampion. Such a passion to give quality to your work will give you. There's nothing like being enamored of accuracy, being grounded in thoroughness as a life principle, and always striving for excellence. No other characteristic makes such a strong impression upon an employee as the habit of painstaking carefulness and accuracy. He knows that if a youth puts his conscience into his work from principle, not from the standpoint of salary or what he can get for it, but because there's something in him which refuses to accept anything from himself but the best, that he is honest and made of good material. I've known many instances where advancement hinged upon the little overplus of interest. A painstaking an employee put into his work, and of his doing a little better than was expected of him. Employers do not say all they think, but they detect very quickly the earmarks of superiority. They keep their eye on the employee who has the stamp of excellence upon him, who takes pains with his work, who does it to a finish. They know he has a future. John D. Rockefeller says that the secret of success is to do the common duty uncommonly well. The majority of people who do not see that the steps which lead to the position above them are constructed little by little by the faithful performance of the common, humble, everyday duties of the position they are now filling. The thing which you are now doing will unlock or bar the door to promotion. Many employees are looking for some great thing to happen that will give them an opportunity to show their mettle. What can there be? That they say to themselves in this dry routine and doing these common, ordinary things to help me along. But it is the youth who sees a great opportunity hidden in just these simple services, who sees a very uncommon chance in a common situation, a humble position, who gets on in the world. It is doing things a little better than those about you do them, being a little neater, a little quicker, a little more accurate, a little more observant. It is ingenuity in finding new and progressive ways of doing old things. It is being a little more polite, a little more obliging, a little more tactful, a little more cheerful, optimistic, a little more energetic, helpful than those about you that attracts the attention of your employer and others employers also. Many a person is marked for a higher position by his employer long before he is aware of it himself. It may be months or it may be a year before the opening comes. But when it does come, the one who appreciated the infinite difference between good and better, between fairly good and excellent, between what others call good and the best that can be done, will be likely to get the place. If there is that in your nature which demands the best and will take nothing less, if you insist on keeping up your standards in everything you do, you will achieve distinction in some line, provided you have the persistence and determination to follow your ideal. But if you're satisfied with the cheap and shoddy, the botched and slovenly, if you are not particular about quality in your work or in your environment or in your personal habits, then you must expect to take second place, to fall back to the rear of the procession. People who have accomplished work worthwhile have had a very high sense of the way to do things. They have not been content with mediocrity. They have not confined themselves to the beaten tracks. They have not been satisfied to do things just as others do them, but always a little better. They always push things that came to their hands a little higher up, a little farther on. It is this little higher up, this little further on that counts in the quality of life's work. It is the constant effort to be first class in everything one attempts that conquers the heights of excellence. It is said that Daniel Webster made the best chowder in his state on the principle that he would not be second class in anything. That is a good resolution in which to start out in your career, never to be second class in anything. No matter what you do, try to do it as well as it can be done, having nothing to do with the inferior. Do your best in everything. Deal with the best. Choose the best. Live up to your best. Everybody put in comments, so do your best in everything. Everywhere we see mediocre or second-class men, perpetual clerks who will never get away from the yardstick, mechanics who will never be anything but bunglers, all sorts of people who will never rise above mediocrity, who will always fill very ordinary positions because they do not take pains, do not put conscience into their work, do not try to be first class. Aside from the lack of desire or effort to be first class, there are other things that help to make second-class men. Dissipation, bad habits, neglect of health, failure to get an education, all make second-class men. A man weakened by dissipation, whose understanding has been dulled, whose growth has been stunted by self-indulgences, is a second-class man, if indeed he is not third class. A man who, through his amusements and his hours of leisure, exhausts his strength and vitality, a man who, through his amusements and his hours of leisure, exhausts his strength and vitality, vitiates his blood, wears his nerves till his limbs tremble like leaves in the wind, and is only half a man, and could in no sense be called first class. Everybody knows the things that make for second-class characteristics. Boys initiate older boys to smoke cigarettes in order to be smart. Then they keep on smoking because they have created an appetite as unnatural as it is harmful. Men get drunk for all sorts of reasons, but whatever the reason, they cannot remain first-class men and drink. Dissipation in other forms is pursued because of pleasure to be derived, but the surest consequence is that of becoming second class, below the standard of the best men for any purpose. Every fault you allow to become a habit, to get control of you, helps to make you second class and puts you at a disadvantage in the race of honor, position, wealth, and happiness. Carelessness as to health fills the ranks of the inferior. The submerged classes that the economists talk about are those that are below the high water mark and the best manhood and womanhood. Sometimes they are second-rate or third-rate people because those who are responsible for their being and their care during their minor years were so before them. But more and more, it is becoming one's own fault if all through life you remain second class. Education of some sort, and even a pretty good sort, is possible to practically everyone in our land. Failure to get the best education available, whether it be in books or in business training, is sure to relegate one to the ranks of second class. There's no excuse for incompetence in this age of opportunity. No excuse for being second class when it is possible to be first class, when first class is in demand everywhere. Let me repeat that again. There's no excuse for incompetence in this age of opportunity. No excuse for being second class when it is possible to be first class, when first class is in demand everywhere. Everybody put in console, in demand. And what I want to do, guys, I actually want to stop there. I want these readings to not be too long. I want to be able to kind of grab what we can in 30 minutes or less. And so this is going to be part one on how to increase your value. And some of the things that I'm getting from here, man, is do the best in everything that you do. This last statement here, there's no excuse for incompetence in this age of opportunity. No excuse for being second class when it's possible to be first class. And when first class is in demand everywhere, first class is in demand. Do your best in everything. Deal with the best. Choose the best. Live up to your best. Never be satisfied with fairly good or pretty good or good enough. Your reputation is at stake in everything you do, and your reputation is your capital. And here you go. There's no other advertisement like a good reputation. There's no other advertisement like a good reputation. Well, this is going to be a two-part series with less than 30 guys, but we'll pick up the rest on the next episode of the New Black Wall Street Book Club. Not that much more to go, but I do want to try to keep it under 30 minutes if at all possible. Anyway, man, what's your takeaway from today's reading? Again, coming out of the book, a book, University Success. We're reading Lesson 30, Part 1, How to Increase Your Value. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. What was your takeaway? What did you get from today's reading? If you did listen to our whole presentation here today, our whole book reading here today. We don't do this just to do this. We do this to make a difference. And the biggest difference I'm making is in my own life. But hopefully we're making a difference in yours as well. Anyway, I'm your host, ERGJ, your certified global financial educator. I want to say thanks so much for tuning in to today's episode of New Black Wall Street Book Club, where Black folk do read. You put it in a book, and we absolutely will find it. I want you guys to remember this, that it takes a village. It starts with us. Let's build as we climb together. We all we got, beautiful people. Matter of fact, we all we really need. And thank God, that's more than enough. Until next episode, you know what time it is. Mr. DJ, hit the music.
It's the New Black Wall Street Book Club. With your host, Evan Jefferson. It's time for us to go. Yeah. Now, you ain't got to leave the computer, but we encourage you to get out there and learn and apply all the things you learn at the New Black Wall Street Book Club. Yeah. The New Black Wall Street. The New Black Wall Street Book Club.